Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. On behalf of ISKCON Juhu Mumbai, we are very happy to welcome His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki. We were always eagerly waiting for Maharaj's visit to Mumbai, and today we are very fortunate to have His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj back home, back to Bombay on the virtual platform. So Maharaj is very busy giving classes for various yatras around the world, and also I am personally aware that he is sitting through so many Vyasa Puja proceedings, and so many devotees from around the world, they were making glorification to him, and Maharaj sits through long sessions, long proceedings, and in spite of all those busy schedules, Maharaj had accepted his invitation to give today's Sunday Bhagavatam class here. Maharaj, we are very, very thankful to you for that, and with that I request Maharaj to start the Bhagavatam class. Over to you, Maharaj. Audio nahi.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj, we are able to hear Maharaj.
It is a great honor and pleasure for me to be with all of you on this auspicious occasion of Srimad Bhagavatam class during the auspicious Purushottama Adhik Mas. So I will begin by singing the Mangalacharana prayers and leading a short kirtan, and then we will discuss today's verse. In the meantime, I would like to request the participants on Zoom to put on your cameras so I can see you better. It's more personal. Nice, thank you. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Rupam Sagrajatam Savana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Cha Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Srila Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Srila Gurudeva. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So we are beginning a new chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 8. Lord Krishna shows the universal form within his mouth. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So again, to the participants on Zoom, as far as possible, keep your camera on so I can see your moon-like faces, and it is more personal. So before we come to today's verse, I will read the chapter summary. Chapter 8, Lord Krishna shows the universal form within his mouth. The summary of the 8th chapter is as follows. This chapter describes the ceremony of giving a name to Krishna. It also describes his crawling, his playing with the cows, and his eating earth, and again showing the universal form to his mother. One day, Vasudeva sent for Gargamuni, the family priest of the Yadu Vamsa, and thus Gargamuni went to the house of Nanda Maharaj, who received him very well and requested him to give names to Krishna and Balaram. Gargamuni, of course, reminded Nanda Maharaj that Kamsa was looking for the son of Devaki, and said that if he performed the ceremony very gorgeously, the ceremony would come to the notice of Kamsa, who would then suspect that Krishna was the son of Devaki. Nanda Maharaj therefore requested Gargamuni to perform this ceremony without anyone's knowledge, and Gargamuni did so. Because Balaram, the son of Rohini, increases the transcendental bliss of others, his name is Rama. And because of his extraordinary strength, he is called Baladev. He attracts the Yadus to follow his instructions, and therefore his name is Shankarshan. Krishna, the son of Yashoda, previously appeared in many other colors, such as white, red, and yellow, and he had now assumed the color black. Because he was sometimes the son of Vasudeva, his name is Vasudeva. According to his various activities and qualities, he has many other names. After thus informing Nanda Maharaj and completing the name-giving ceremony, Gargamuni advised Nanda Maharaj to protect his son very carefully, and then departed. Shukadev Goswami next described how the two children crawled, walked on their small legs, played with the cows and calves, stole butter and other milk products, and broke the butter pots. In this way, he described many naughty activities of Krishna and Balaram. Incidentally, Srila Prabhupada said that naughtiness in a child is a sign of intelligence. So if any of you have naughty children or grandchildren, you can keep that in mind. In this way, he described many naughty activities of Krishna and Balaram. The most wonderful of these occurred when Krishna's playmates complained to Mother Yashoda that Krishna was eating earth. Mother Yashoda wanted to open Krishna's mouth to see the evidence so that she could chastise him. Sometimes she assumed the position of a chastising mother, and the next moment she was overwhelmed with maternal love. After describing all this to Maharaj Parikshit, Shukadev Goswami, at Maharaj Parikshit's request, praised the fortune of Mother Yashoda and Nanda. Nanda and Yashoda were formerly Drona and Dhara, and by the order of Brahma, they came to this earth and had the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their son. Text 1. Shri Shuko Vacha Garga Purohito Rajan Yadunam Sumahatapa Rajam Jagamanandasya Vasudeva Prachodita. Shukadev Goswami said, O Maharaj Parikshit, the priest of the Yadu dynasty, namely Gargamuni, who was highly elevated in austerity and penance, was then inspired by Vasudeva to go see Nanda Maharaj at his home. Text 2. Tam dristva parama prita pratyutaya kritanjali anarchita dokshajadya pranipata prahasaram. When Nanda Maharaj saw Gargamuni present at his home, he was so pleased that he stood up to receive him with folded hands. Although seeing Gargamuni with his eyes, Nanda Maharaj could appreciate that Gargamuni was adhokshaja. That is, he was not an ordinary person seen by material senses. Text 3. Supavishtam kritatityam girasun ritayamunim nanda yitva bravid brahman purnasya karavamakim. When Gargamuni had been properly received as a guest and was very comfortably seated, Nanda Maharaj submitted with gentle and submissive words. My dear sir, because you are a devotee, you are full in everything. My duty is to serve you. Kindly order me. What can I do for you? So here Nanda Maharaj is setting a wonderful example of how to receive and treat a saintly person by asking him how he could serve him. Text 4, and this is the first verse with a purport, and this is the verse that we will discuss in detail. So again, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Mahad. Well, I'll just read the verse. Mahad Vichalanam Rinam Grihinam Jina Chestasam Nishreyas Sasya Bhagavan Kalpate Nanyatak Vachit Mahad Vichalanam Rinam Grihinam Dina Chetasam Nishreyasya Bhagavan Kalpate Nanyatak Vachit Mahat Vichalanam, the movement of great personalities. Rinam, in the houses of ordinary persons. Grihinam, especially householders. Dina Chetasam, who are very simple-minded, being engaged in family maintenance and nothing more. Nishreyasya, a great personality has no reason to go to the Grihasta but to benefit him. Bhagavan, O most powerful devotee, Kalpate is to be taken away. Na anyata, not for any other purpose. Kvachit, at any time. Translation, O my Lord, O great devotee, persons like you move from one place to another, not for their own interests, but for the sake of poor-hearted grihastas, householders. Otherwise, they have no interest in going from one place to another. I'll read the translation again. O my Lord, O great devotee, persons like you move from one place to another, not for their own interests, but for the sake of poor-hearted grihastas, householders. Otherwise, they have no interest in going from one place to another. So as I read the purport, I will be commenting, so it won't be very useful to keep the purport on the screen. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As factually stated by Nanda Maharaj, Gargamuni, being a devotee, had no needs. So that is expressed in the Sanskrit that he is full in himself. Similarly, when Krishna comes, he has no needs, for he is Purna, complete, Atmarama, self-satisfied. Nonetheless, he descends to this material world to protect the devotees and vanquish miscreants. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chuduskritam. So Krishna has no personal reason to descend, but he descends for the benefit of his devotees. And Srila Prabhupada is making the comparison with Gargamuni, who also had no personal reason to visit Nanda Maharaj, but to give benefit to Nanda Maharaj. This is the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and devotees also have the same mission. One who executes this mission of para upakar, performing welfare activities for people in general, is recognized by Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as being very, very dear to him. Nachatasman manushesu kaschin me priyakritama. So here Srila Prabhupada is referring to almost the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna glorifies the preacher. In Bhagavad Gita 1868, he says, Ya idam paramam guyam mad bhakteshva vidasyati bhaktim mai param kritva mam evaish yat yasamshaya. For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and in the end he will come back to me. And then the next verse, Nochatasman manusyeshu kaschin me priyakritama bhavita nachame tasmad anya priyataro bhuvi. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So this is, yeah. And Srila Prabhupada really emphasized preaching and how much Krishna appreciates preaching, how important preaching is, that Krishna himself comes into the material world to preach. Once in the earlier days of ISKCON in Bombay, before we even got the Juhu land, Srila Prabhupada sent one of his disciples named Rishi Kumar to preach in Africa. And Srila Prabhupada said that he was always worried about him because the preachers take risks. But at the same time, preaching is so important. Srila Prabhupada said that he felt compelled, to send his disciples to different places. And again, that it was so important that Krishna himself came to preach. So yeah, one who executes the mission of para upakar, that means welfare work for the benefit of others. Oh yeah, Prabhupada says that. One who executes this mission of para upakar, performing welfare activities for people in general, is recognized by Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as being very, very dear to him. Nachatasman manushyeshu kaschin me priyakritama. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has advised this para upakar, And he has especially advised the inhabitants of India. Bharata bhumi te hoila manusya janmayar janma sartharka kari karapada upakar. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharatvarsha, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of other people. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 941. Of course, Bharatvarsha also means the planet Earth, and therefore this verse also applies to any inhabitant of the Earth planet. One who has taken his birth as a human being in Bharatvarsha should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. CC Adi 941. On the whole, the duty of a pure Vaishnav is to act for the welfare of others. As Srila Prabhupada often used to say, that generally people from India would go to America to beg, whatever, give me rice, give me wheat, give me arms. But he said of himself, he didn't go to beg, but he went to give. And that's the mood of a Vaishnava. He doesn't go to places or deal with people to exploit them, but he goes to benefit them. Nanda Maharaj could understand that Garga Muni had come for this purpose, that is to act for his welfare, to act for the welfare of others, to act for the welfare of him and his children and family. Nanda Maharaj could understand that Garga Muni had come for this purpose and that his duty now was to act according to Garga Muni's advice. Thus he said, "Please tell me what is my duty." This should be the attitude of everyone, especially the householder. The Varnashram society is organized into 8 divisions: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Nanda Maharaj represented himself as Grihina, a householder. A brahmachari factually has no needs. As Srila Prabhupada said, a brahmachari, all he needs is a little service, some prasad, and 6 feet of space on the ground or on the floor to take rest. He doesn't need anything. A brahmachari factually has no needs. But grihi, householders, are engaged in sense gratification. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2:44, Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam taya parita chetasam. So that's a very significant verse. The full verse is Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam taya paharita chetasam vayava sayatmika buddhi samado na vidyate. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So, because householders generally are inclined to sense gratification as described in this verse, and therefore are weak in their determination to engage in devotional service, saintly persons, Mahatmas or sadhus, such as Gargamuni, visit them to try to inspire them and encourage them in devotional service. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2:44, Bhoga Shwarya Prasaktanam Taya Parita Chetasam. Everyone has come to this material world for sense gratification. And the position of those who are too attached to sense gratification and who therefore accept the Grihastha ashram is precarious. Since everyone in the material world is searching for sense gratification, Grihasthas are required to be trained as Mahat, great Mahatmas. Therefore, Nanda Maharaj specifically used the word Mahad Vichalanam. Gargamuni had no interest to serve by going to Nanda Maharaj. But Nanda Maharaj, as a Grihastha, was always perfectly ready to receive instructions from a Mahatma to gain the real benefit in life. Thus, he was ready to execute Gargamuni's order. So these last sentences are an instruction for all of us about the importance of serving Mahatmas, great souls, and the benefit we get by serving them. So first we should know who is a Mahatma. And of course, the Bhagavad Gita gives the basic definition. Mahatmanas mam partha daivim prakriti mashritaha bhajantyananya manaso gyatva bhuta dema vyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So this gives us an idea of how to recognize a Mahatma, and their characteristics are further described in the next verse, Bhagavad Gita 9:14. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha drida namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So, in other words, a Mahatma is a devotee. Now, when Srila Prabhupada was in Bombay, of course, during the great struggle to get the Juhu land and then to get the permission to build the temple, at one stage he stayed for about 4 months because he didn't want to leave before we got the permission. So he stayed for several months. And during that period, he spoke on the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he eventually instructed that the lectures that he gave during that period should be compiled into a book, which they were, called Teachings of Lord Kapila, Devahuti. So within that discussion, there is a beautiful definition of the benefit of becoming attached to a Mahatma or sadhu. And it's such a wonderful verse and purport. I will read it. And also it brings back memories of when Srila Prabhupada spoke on this verse in Juhu when I was there. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-20. Prasangam ajaram pasham atmana kavayo vidu sa eva sadhushu krito mokshadwaram apavritam. Translation. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. As we just read, Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanam. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But the same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door of liberation. Mokshadwaram apavritam. Purport. Here it is clearly stated that attachment for one thing is the cause of bondage in conditioned life. And the same attachment, when applied to something else, opens the door of liberation. Attachment cannot be killed. It has simply to be transferred. Attachment for material things is called material consciousness. An attachment for Krishna or his devotee is called Krishna consciousness. Now, this is a very important point about what Krishna means, and consequently what Krishna consciousness means. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami gives the definition of pure devotional service. Anyavilasita sunyam, jnana karmadi anavritam, anukulyena Krishna anushilanam. So in the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada has analyzed the word Krishna because, pure devotional service is the cultivation, anushilanam, continuous cultivation to Krishna. And in the Nectar of Devotion, and Srila Prabhupada, without mentioning their names, often refers to the commentaries of Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his discussions in the Nectar of Devotion. And he says Krishna means Krishna, his name, his forms, his qualities, his pastimes, and his pure devotees. So here, Srila Prabhupada makes the same point, that attachment for material things is called material consciousness, and attachment for Krishna or his devotee is called Krishna consciousness. It is clearly stated here that when we simply purify the consciousness from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness, we attain liberation. Our attachment for material things perpetuates our conditional state, but the same attachment, when transferred to the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotee, is the source of liberation. Here it is recommended that attachment should be transferred to the self-realized devotees, the sadhus. And who is a sadhu? A sadhu is not just an ordinary man with a saffron robe or long beard. A sadhu is described in the Bhagavad Gita as one who unflinchingly engages in devotional service. Even though one is found not to be following the strict rules and regulations of devotional service, if one simply has unflinching faith in Krishna, the Supreme Person, he is considered to be a sadhu. Sadhur eva samantavya. That's Bhagavad Gita 9:30. A sadhu is a strict follower of devotional service. It is recommended here that if one at all wants to realize spiritual perfection, his attachment should be transferred to the sadhu or devotee. And this is the real essence of this verse that we read today about how Nanda Maharaj received and treated the sadhu, the Mahatma, Gargamuni. It is recommended here that if one at all wants to realize spiritual perfection, his attachment should be transferred to the sadhu or devotee. Lord Chaitanya also confirms this. Lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hai. That's Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 2254. Yeah, sadhu sangha sarva shastra kai. Lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hai. Simply by a moment's association with the sadhu, one can attain perfection. Mahatma is a synonym of sadhu. It is said that service to a Mahatma, or elevated devotee of the Lord, is Dwaram Ahur Vimukte, the royal road of liberation. Mahatsevam Dwaram Ahur Vimukte, Tamo Dwaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2. So it's similar. Moksha Dwaram Apavritam, this verse opens the door to liberation. And in 5.5.2, we find Dwaram Ahur Vimukte. It's the same idea. Mahatsevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes Tamo Dwaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. Rendering service to materialists has the opposite effect. If one offers service to a gross materialist or a person engaged only in sense enjoyment, then by his association with such a person, the door to hell is opened. The same principle is confirmed here. Attachment to a devotee is attachment to the service of the Lord. Because if one associates with a sadhu, the result will be that the sadhu will teach him how to become a devotee, a worshiper and a sincere servitor of the Lord. These are the gifts of a sadhu. If we want to associate with a sadhu, We cannot expect him to give us instructions on how to improve our material condition, but he will give us instructions on how to cut the knot of the contamination of material attraction and how to elevate ourselves in devotional service. That is the result of associating with the sadhu. Kapila Muni first of all instructs that the path of liberation begins with such association. So, in this connection, and in like with reference to 552, that associating with materialist persons opens the door to hell. Lord Chaitanya advises, Asatsang Tyaga e Vaishnavachar, Sri Sangi Eka Sadhu, Krishna Bhakta Ar. So on the one hand, we want to associate with sadhus and serve them. And on the other hand, we want to avoid the association of materialists and avoid service to them. So we've discussed who is a Mahatma, who is a sadhu, and then who is a satsanga, who sat means devotee. So, and we want satsanga, association of devotees. So asatsanga means the opposite. So who is asatsanga? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs asatsang tyaga e Vaishnavachar, that the principal behavior or characteristic of a Vaishnav is that he avoids the association of asat, unholy persons. And who are they? Sri Sangi Eka Sadhu, one who is too attached to women. That's one kind of asadhu, asat. And the other is Krishna Bhakta Ar, and the other is someone who is not a devotee of Krishna. So there are two kinds of materialists. One is attached to women and sense gratification, and the other is simply a non-devotee. So on the positive side is association with Mahatmas, and on the negative side is the avoidance of association with non-devotees and men who are too attached to women for sense gratification. Now, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that this injunction, asatsang tyaga, to avoid the association of non-devotees, does not mean that in the workplace or in school, we cannot have ordinary interactions with materialistic persons. He says that one can have normal interactions with them as is required in the place of work or in the place of study. But definitely one should not take their advice about spiritual matters. But otherwise, it's not a violation of the principle of satsang tyaga to have, normal, minimal social interactions with people at work or at school. So, yes, Srimad Bhagavatam is so full of nectar anywhere you look. And here we've come to the 10th canto. Generally, one should read the first 9 cantos to get a clear understanding of Krishna. Actually, there are 3 divisions of knowledge in the Vedic literatures. First is Sambandha Gyan, knowledge of one's relationships, who one is, who Krishna is, what is one's relationship with Krishna, what is the material world, what is one's relationship with the material world. That is Sambandha. And Abhideya means the process for achieving the goal, which is devotional service or bhakti yoga, and prayojana is the necessity, the ultimate goal, and that is Krishna prema pumartho mahan. So the whole Srimad Bhagavatam deals basically with just these 3 categories of Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana, all of which are meant to help us, reach the ultimate goal of love for Krishna. And as Srila Prabhupada has emphasized in the purport, and, he always emphasizes that we should preach. It's our basic principle. We should taste Krishna consciousness, relish Krishna consciousness, and we should distribute it. We should share our good fortune with others. And therefore, and in a way, Gargamuni is an example, visiting the poor householder to give him the opportunity to engage in devotional service. So thank you all for joining and listening so patiently. I think we can, we've taken almost an hour, but I think we can open the floor or open the mic for questions and comments. Churn the nectar some more. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. If any of you want to say anything, please raise your hand. I guess Iskanju will call on you. And again, please turn on your cameras so we can see you.
Maharaj, there is a question from the temple. Can I have Maharaj?
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for this wonderful enlightening class. Towards the end you said that from 552, there are 2 types of association. We should take association of sadhu or a devotee, which will open the doors to liberation. And there is another kind of association of a non-devotee, which will take us to the opposite direction. Now, and you also emphasized, stating that Srila Prabhupada wanted us to preach. So in our initial stage, where I am, like initial stages of Krishna consciousness, I am preaching, but I am not a sadhu. I don't have that purity in the heart, still have a lot of material desires. So whoever will come in contact with me, what kind of association he will derive?
In my humble opinion, he will get good association. I think you are a sadhu. You may not be perfect, but you're a sadhu. Sadhu eva samantavya, because you have faith in Krishna and are engaged in service to Krishna. You don't worship any demigods, do you? No. So you're a sadhu. By the definition in the Bhagavad Gita, 9:30 and 31, you're a sadhu. But don't be puffed up thinking you're a sadhu. In a way, it's good that you don't think you're a sadhu. But people will benefit from your association. And even if you think you're not a sadhu, you're the servant of a sadhu. So they will benefit. Yeah, there's a really beautiful verse in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where the Lord says how dear his devotees are. And then he says that even the devotees of his devotees are dear to him. So, you should be, you should give your association to others, and you should preach and practice. Then you'll be fulfilling your mission to taste and distribute Krishna consciousness. Is that all right? What is your name, my dear sadhu or aspiring sadhu?
Chakravarti Das. Chakravarti Das.
Chakravarti Das. Chakravarti Das, beautiful. So you're already initiated. Good. Some sadhu has accepted you. Are there any other questions or comments?
One more question in the temple, Maharaj.
Sure.
Any other participant on the Zoom, if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand electronically so that you can also ask the question. Now, a question from the temple.
Hare Krishna, Maharajji.
Hare Krishna.
So you mentioned Prabhupada lecturing on Kapil Dev's section from Srimad Bhagavatam, and there the qualities of sadhus are mentioned to be tolerant, titikshva. So I find myself to be very much lacking in this quality. How can I develop my tolerance level?
Practice. I mean, it might not be exactly the same, but once I was in the room and someone asked His Holiness Radhanath Swami how he became so humble, and Maharaj replied, by practice. He said he wasn't that humble, but he practiced, he acted in a way that he thought a humble person would act or should act. And then eventually it became habit. Like Prabhupada said, habit is second nature. It becomes your nature. So I think you just have to practice. And if you have difficulty tolerating and you become annoyed or aggravated or angry with what someone did, and then you react to them, then afterwards you should apologize to them for reacting, and that will mitigate the offense, and at the same time it will help you to become more tolerant. But yeah, we have to tolerate. Srila Prabhupada said, if you can't tolerate, you cannot live in this world for 1 minute. So, but it's good that you're aware of that deficiency in you and that you want to improve. So, yeah, I'm sure that by practice you will develop that habit, which in turn will become that quality.
Advaita Prabhu on the Zoom has raised his hand electronically, so he has a question. Advaita Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, as we become attached to the devotees, our immediate family, our friends, they become distant to us, those who are non-devotees. And we start losing them, and we are still attached to them, so we don't feel good about it. At the same time, it goes against Lokachar. They criticize us as devotees that we are not in the society, we are going away from the society. So it's become, and we don't want to lose them. At the same time, it is difficult to accept the criticisms by them. We become wrong examples, kind of.
So you're saying that if you don't socialize with materialistic people, they don't like it. Of course they don't like it. And then they criticize you. Of course, they will criticize you. So then what's the problem?
I don't like to be criticized. I feel like I don't like it. And they say we are, after becoming devotees, we have become like this. So it's like a kind of bad name to Krishna consciousness also.
Yeah. Well, can you associate with them in a spiritual way? Yeah. I mean, that was a technique that His Holiness Radhanath Swami shared with me. If someone wants to associate with him, but not in a spiritual way, he will tell them, yeah, I really want to spend time with you, but I have to finish my rounds. But you're welcome to stay with me and chant while I'm finishing my rounds. Or, yeah, I really want to spend time with you, but I have to finish my quota of reading. But you're welcome to be with me and we can read together. So you're not rejecting them. You're not excluding them from your life. You're inviting them to join you, but in spiritual activities. And, you could do little things to make them happy, give them prasad. That's always a good thing to do. I maybe give them books. I don't know if you've tried giving them books. Why not? You have to be merciful. Yeah, try that. Try elevating them, purifying them. I mean, it's their good fortune that they have some relationship with you who are a devotee. And so you can use your position as their friend and as a devotee to elevate them. Okay.
There is a question from S.L. Pandian, a congregational devotee from Mumbai, raised his hand electronically. S.L. Pandian.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी महाराज दंडवत
Hare Krishna.
प्रणाम महाराज महाराज for the grihasthas especially more time is spent with the non-devotees due to various reasons. Number of our sadhu sangha time is out of 24 hours very limited. So how do we manage or balance the spiritual activities with the limited time of sadhu sangha? Though our desire to have more sadhu sangha is there, however, due to various reasons, unfortunately, our more time is spent with the non-devotees. How do we balance this, and how do we come out of this? Kindly guide us.
Yes, that's a good question. I mean, ordinarily people work maybe 8 hours a day. Maybe they have an hour for lunch or something. So yeah, there's a lot of time spent with non-devotees. But the rest of the time, which is the majority of the time, should be spent associating with devotees. And association can come in two ways. One is vapu, which means physical presence, and the other is vani, which means transcendental sound or words. So if you can't associate with them in person, you can associate with them by hearing, by reading. By reading Srila Prabhupada's books, you're associating with him. And so yeah, don't waste time. Okay, your time is limited. You have to spend so much time at work with non-devotees. All right, you can't help it. But then the time you have available to you, don't waste it in frivolous activities, but use it to associate with devotees and engage in chanting and hearing and service.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
I think of a talk Srila Prabhupada gave in Los Angeles, and he said, don't waste time. If you've got time, chant Hare Krishna. Don't waste time. Don't speak nonsense. Chant Hare Krishna. Or hear about Krishna, speak about Krishna. Thank you. That was
Thank you.
very, very
Thank
important.
you so much for the guidance, Mother Prabhuji, Maharaj.
Next, there is a question from Parijata Mataji from the temple.
Hare Krishna. My humble obeisances to you, Maharaj. So Maharaj, my question was in relation to attachment. The question was that we are dealing with devotees, one at a personal level and one is at a level of our seva. We could be having attachments in relation to, at a personal level, in relation to our ideas, our egos, in relation to our service, attachment to status, positions. My question was, how do we deal with this attachment which is part of our devotional life and which is actually not leading us to real pure devotion?
Oh, you mean you're attached to, you or someone might be attached to their position and to the honor and respect that they get as devotees. Well, that of course should be given up because it will keep us down. It will keep us back in the material world. And yeah, I mean, we have to purify the heart, Cheto Darpano Marjanam, and the main process for purifying the heart is to chant the holy names attentively, offenselessly. We have to want to give up the attachments. Otherwise, if we want to hold on to the attachment, that's an offense against the holy name. To maintain material attachments, even in spite of understanding so many instructions on the matter. So it's an obstruction, to our spiritual progress, and specifically to our chanting, which is the main process for our spiritual advancement. So, as usual, it's a question of the higher self controlling the lower self, or the intelligence, controlling the mind. But there's, of course, it's in Srila Prabhupada's books in so many places, but there's a very nice short work by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami called Mana Shiksha. And he really uses strong language to describe these types of attachments, like for profit, fame, and adoration. And I think my god sister Urmila Devi Dasi has published Mana Shiksha. And you could read there 1 or 2 verses about those attachments. And reading what Raghunath Das Goswami says it will definitely purify your heart of that desire, because it's just, I think he says, it's like a dancing prostitute. So not good. But I don't know, you mentioned dealing with other devotees. Was there part of your question that I didn't address? Parijata Mataji.
No, I think that was perfect, Maharaj. It was just about attachments, so I think, that was perfect to purify the heart.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Radha Charan Prabhu from Surat.
Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. May I share one of my realization in connection with the question of Sita Mataji, Guru Maharaj?
Okay.
So actually, when we started practicing Krishna consciousness, the same was the case with us, to getting completely disassociated with the relatives, friends, and the social members. And they were feeling that we have become fanatic or some mad or like diverted or misguided like this. But gradually, when we have got little maturity, and now we are doing some preaching activity services also. So practically, we are trying to find out the reason to increase our relationship with the society members also. We are finding out the reasons, how can we connect them, have some talks with them, meeting with them, and gradually we can invite them for the programs and insist them to invite us for the programs, inviting them for the festivals, collecting donations or some loving exchanges, so that they can also join Krishna consciousness and appreciate Krishna consciousness. So now our situation is completely different. We are trying to increase our this network of connection with the social members and relatives also, and they are appreciating it. This is practically so, Guru Maharaj.
Good. Excellent.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Please bless us so that we can just maintain this and get a little or more mature and spread the glory and beauty of Krishna consciousness among the society members and make positivity about this.
Yeah, I wish you all success.
Thank you very much.
And I also wish Sita Thakurani all success.
Next, there is a question from Shyam Vallabha Prabhu on the Zoom. Shyam Vallabha Prabhu.
Haribo, Guru Maharaj.
Haribo.
It's good to see you as always.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
So one of the things that it's right before this, I was listening to Srimad Bhagavatam 6.5.19, and you mentioned about, the part, I came into this a little late because I was distracted, but when I came on, you mentioned about one should not waste not even a minute. And it's funny that was meant directly for me, I know, because 6.5.19 Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, even a moment of one's lifetime could not be returned in exchange for millions of dollars. Therefore, one should consider how much loss one suffers if he wastes even a moment of his life for nothing. So right before that, I was listening to that, and then you come and said it like you're talking directly to me. So I have to take heed. I have to listen to that and continue to stay, to pay to as much attention as possible to my Krishna conscious life, because that was a direct message to me, I know. So thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful. Wonderful. That's for everyone, but especially for you.
There is a message on the chat box, a question from Anita Purohit. Aradhya Radha Mataji. You are unmuted. Can you ask? Aradhya Radha Mataji, congregation from Mumbai. You are unmuted now. Are you there? Anita Purohit, Aradhya Radha Mataji. I think there is some problem on our side, audio.
All right, well.
Purohit, Aradhya Radha Mataji, can you speak? You are not speaking, we can see your video. Are you able to hear? Aradhya Radha Mataji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Dandavata Pranam Maharaj. Please accept my Dandavata Pranam Maharaj. I have a question. So, how much ever material activities we all are doing, but still, if we dovetail all our material activities also to the Lord, to Krishna, so and we remember the Lord Krishna every time, even though we are engrossed with a lot of material activities. For example, I am teaching. I am a teacher. I teach people. So if my teaching activities also, if I'm dovetailing all my activities towards the Lord, will it not suffice? I am fully not engaged in devotional service to the Lord, but I am engaged in teaching. So if I direct my teaching activities also to the Lord, so will it not be directing me to the service of the Lord?
Yes. I mean, you need to earn your livelihood. And so the money you get from teaching, you use to maintain your Krishna conscious lifestyle.
Yes.
And, whatever extra you can give for spreading Krishna consciousness. And do your students know that you're a devotee?
Yeah.
So then, by dealing nicely with them, And by their appreciating you, they make advancement. Because Srila Prabhupada said just by appreciating a devotee, you make advancement. So if they just appreciate you, they make advancement. And yeah, maybe on special days you can bring
Yeah,
prasad,
I
distribute prasad.
distribute books to them. I distribute Bhagavad Gita to them.
Good. That's wonderful. What age are they?
No, elderly people. Elderly people.
Oh, elderly people.
Yeah, I
And
teach different languages: Chinese, Thai, Italian, and I teach people all these languages. I train, so these people are professionals, all elderly people. I speak all the languages and I teach people all the languages. So the professionals and the business people. So they in exchange they give some money. So even I donate to our temple with my capacity to some extent, and I distribute Bhagavad Gita to my students, to people.
wonderful.
So,
Wonderful.
will it, even though I am not fully engaged in devotional service, so where my karma is going, whether I am in the right direction or not.
What about the rest of your life when you're not teaching?
Uh, no, I have deities in my house, so I do the deity seva in my house.
Mm-hmm.
Then I remain engaged in, I offer them bhog and I do deity seva in my house, and then I teach people.
All right. Well, it's the same principle that I enunciated to Shambhala Das, that whatever time you have, use it in direct service to Krishna.
Mm.
And to whatever extent you're required, you can do indirect service. But don't waste time.
Dana Maharaj, thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
There is a message on the chat box for Chandni Doshi to ask a question.
Okay.
Chandni Doshi.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances for Gauri Srila Prabhupada.
Bye.
Maharaj, I just wanted to ask because it was mentioned that rendering service to materialist has the opposite effect. So, and I think you may have answered this in the previous questions, but I just wanted to confirm because, like, for example, how about in the professions of healthcare, like the doctors and the nurses, and, a lot of people who are atheists also come for treatment, and they, you have to give treatment to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in such a case, what happens? Like, because you're rendering service to a materialist, I know you mentioned previously that for a devotee, I guess, I'm not so sure, but I think if they're engaged in, like, if they don't waste time, as you nicely mentioned, it's okay. But what if it's
No, almost any business or profession will cater to non-devotees. Srila Prabhupada had a pharmacy. You think that he sold his medicine only to devotees? That's understood, that when you have a profession or a business, you're going to have customers that are non-devotees. But that's different from, being very closely and intimately associated with someone. Like, Mahat Seva Dwara Mahor Vimukti. So when you serve a devotee, like, intimately with your heart, that opens the door to liberation. So we don't want to serve these materialists like intimately with our hearts. But yeah, of course, We will have patients who are not devotees. We will have customers who are not devotees. That's fine. That's understood.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
There is one more question from the temple, Maharaj. Could you take it?
Yes.
Our Zoom coordinator himself has a question. So,
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for the wonderful class. Here in the purport of 325:20, Prabhupada mentions that who is a sadhu. So Prabhupada writes, a sadhu is not just an ordinary man with saffron robe. And then down Prabhupada writes, a sadhu is a strict follower of devotional service. So it seems that Prabhupada is just telling two contradictory things in above line and below line. He says, even though one is found not to be following the strict rules and regulations of devotional service, still we should consider him as sadhu. But just two lines below, Prabhupada writes, a sadhu is a strict follower of devotional service. So how do we take it?
Yeah, well, this is with reference to, sadhu eva samantavya. And that verse refers to an accidental fall down. That even if someone, if someone's engaged fully in devotional service and he accidentally falls down, sadhu eva samantavya, he's still considered to be a sadhu. And then in the next verse, dharmatma, that quickly he becomes righteous. So that's Chipram Bhavati Dharmatma. Quickly he becomes righteous because the Lord within the heart will purify him. So yeah, of course, he tries to be a strict follower. And in the purports to these verses, Srila Prabhupada says, no one should take advantage of this and willingly fall down. One should try to follow, but if by chance, due to the strong influence of the illusory energy or bad association, one does fall down, he should not be derided, but he should be considered a sadhu. And if we don't consider him a sadhu, we're going against Krishna's direct order. So it's really, as Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, it's a warning to the non-devotees that they should not deride a sadhu for an accidental fall down. So it's not really contradictory, but the one statement is meant to balance the other statement. Yeah.
we have no more question, Maharaj.
Okay. So then if we're going to end, or is there, if we're going to end, I would suggest that we offer Vaishnava Pranam.
Can we, yes, Maharaj. We will also would like to have the darshan of the deities for you as well.
Oh, yes.
So we will have darshan of Srila Prabhupada, Shri Gaurnitai, Sitaram Lakshmana Hanuman, and then Shri Radha Das Bihariji. So you can start the Vaishnava Pranam, Maharaj. By the way, we will take the camera towards the darshan.
No, we'll end with the Vaishnava Pranam. Now
Yes,
we'll
Maharaj.
focus on the deities.
Yes, Maharaj. Kirtan. Kirtan Guru.
Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Looks like it's warm there.
It's little bit raining, Maharaj, today morning.
Okay.
भूतले श्रीमद् भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी निति नामिने नमः विष्णुपादाय नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Right. Giriraj Maharaj ki jai.
जय गिरिराज स्वामी महाराज की, गिरि गोवर्धन की.
Beautiful. Yeah, I always have their picture in front of me on my table.
Focus karo. Jai Maharaj. Shri Shri Radha Ras Bihari Ji ki.
Jai.
So, Maharaj, once again, on behalf of ISKCON Juhu Mumbai, I would like to thank you very much for giving you time today. It is little late in the evening for you and a very busy day ahead for you tomorrow. So in spite of that, you have given your valuable time, and we are all very inspired by your association. Even though we are hankering for your association, now at least we got little bit of your association on the virtual platform. Once again, thank you very, very much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
All right. Thank you. My pleasure. So now we'll offer Vaishnava Pranam. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo Anantakoti Vaishnava ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
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 Hare Krishna Maharaj. So we will be all Zoom participants. We are going to end the Zoom session. Thank you very much, Maharaj, once again. Hare Krishna.
My pleasure. Thank you all for joining.